Mañano, so happy to be here today. I get to interview Jason Galick, our senior tax lawyer here at the firm, on a topic that comes up quite often, missed 83B elections. And they usually get reported to us as a firm, as counsel for startups, at two different inflection points. Number one, a founder used an online incorporation service and assumed that the online incorporation service would take care of the 83B election submission. Some do, some don't. And it turns out maybe it just didn't this time. The other most common scenario that causes them to call counsel for their missed 83B elections is the company itself is going to go raise a venture capital round. And some of their early stage hires, maybe not even the founders, just early employees that they had hired back in the day, did receive restricted common stock pursuant to a vesting schedule, knew they had to file an 83B election, but just forgot. They didn't pay for their shares. They just completely forgot to turn in this 83B election. 9 times out of 10, there is no share payment. It's simply just forgotten once the restricted stock agreement is signed and people are off to the races. So those are the two inflection points. And, they kind of ask us, what can we do to fix this? And there is no 100% guaranteed fix in this scenario, but there is something called the synthetic 83B. And I wanted to elucidate that concept here on the podcast with Jason Galick, because he's our resident go-to expert on all things corporate and individual tax. So Jason, tell the folks why an 83B, should not be missed, but if it is, what a synthetic 80B election is and how it can kind of hedge, not solve, but hedge some of that risk of missing it.
Sure. Thank you, Lindsay. So the 83B election itself is limited to 30 days. If you don't make it within those 30 days, you are not able to make a late election. A lot of other elections in the Internal Revenue Code allow for late elections, but this is not one of them. So after that 30 days, you're limited in what you can do. So what many folks call the synthetic 83B election it's really a mitigation tactic. So what you're essentially doing is you're creating a cost basis by essentially disqualifying your own shares from treatment under 83B. And by setting the cost basis, you're allowing the future growth of that value to be taxed as a capital gain versus ordinary income. So it's better to do that earlier than later, because what you're trying to do is characterize the growth as capital versus setting the value, the cost later, which is going to be a measure of ordinary income. So you want to really do that sooner than later. One just side note on the name of the synthetic election is that if you were to do a search on AI or Google, you might come up with what we've been discussing as a synthetic 83B election. But that can also mean applying the same principles of 83B to partnerships using partnership income interests, which obviously is not what we're doing here. But there can be some ambiguity if you were just to do a quick search. So just recognize that it's not a term that's used consistently or uniformly. But the way we've been using it, you're essentially doing the best you can with what you have to trigger the cost basis so that more of the growth of value can be treated as capital gain.